I'm Nick Schillingford coming to you from the Urban Cabin Studios in South Minneapolis with our regular October episode number 75. In the second portion of the show, Asada Shakur speaks. We listen to Shakur's words now after her passing, but we start with news, and with local news, Wall Street's bid for Your Power is on the lever. October 3rd by Katja Schwenk, which says, quote, in a landmark case with national implications, Democratic Governor Tim Walz's regulators have greenlit a private equity giant's acquisition of one of the Midwest's largest power companies, end quote. The company is Minnesota Power via its parent company, Allet, which BlackRock will take private. It says this comes with BlackRock set to buy another company with data centers around the world and amid skyrocketing energy prices for consumers. You can read more on levernews.com. Angry tenants demand accountability for Minneapolis slumlords is by Clint Combs, October 9th on the Minnesota Spokesman Recorder. The article quotes Mayor Jacob Frey as saying at a mayoral forum last month, quote, we've got a regulatory services division. We have inspectors that can work directly with those in homes to make sure that the conditions are not only habitable, they are up to par, end quote. But the article notes that many renters have not found that calling 311 for city services has led to conditions being, quote, up to par, end quote, which has led to the creation of the IPG Tenants Union, which is pushing for the Stop the Slumlords ordinance at City Council. The article says, quote, at the center of the controversy is 2119 Pillsbury Avenue, which has the city's highest number of Tier 3 violations, 61. According to the Housing Dashboard, the property is owned by California-based investment property group IPG, led by Brian Fitterer, end quote. The ordinance the tenants are pushing for would require, quote, city council approval rather than automatic renewal of rental licenses for landlords with histories of unsafe conditions and code violations, end quote. You can read more on spokesman-recorder.com. October 10th, I spoke with Yolanda Roth, an activist and singer who has just returned to the Twin Cities from Israel. Roth went to work with a Jewish NGO, Tazek Zedek, and Rabbi Arik as a protective presence activist in the occupied West Bank. I strongly suggest you check out the entire interview, but here is a clip, about 2.5 minutes.
They were shooting at activists that were trying to stop them as they were sabotaging the infrastructure in the darkness. So they had they were there were several of them, and they were just like cutting water lines, sabotaging water tanks, putting holes in them, like cutting electricity just to houses. And yeah, so when the activists were alerted to what was happening, they like made their way over there with like a little bit of light from their phones to see what was happening. And then the that's when the gunshots began. And so I got there and was just, talking to them about the violence they'd experienced overnight. And shortly thereafter my arrival, we saw that the Bedouin community, the settlers had a couple of settlers had brought their, I want to say sheep to into the Bedouin village
Okay.
to graze on their land and to knock things over and to just generally intimidate and destroy things. And so we headed down to like videotape what was happening, and alert the police, such
Sure.
as they are,
Right.
and the military. And we have to be careful because the two of us that were there doing protective presence in Mukmas at that time are American citizens. So if we um, file a complaint or if we speak directly to the police, they will kick us out of the country.
Oh, okay. Again, check out the whole interview on Urban Cabin Studios YouTube, link in the show notes. Chapanjana Das writes for Sahan Journal an article October 11th with the title Amid Ceasefire, Minnesota Palestinians Express Hope and Skepticism as Families Return to Gaza City. The article quotes Tahir Herzela, Director of Outreach and Grassroots Organizing at American Muslims for Palestine. Quote, this deal is being made with an indicted war criminal and a man who's been impeached twice by the U.S. Congress. Having those two individuals as part of the deal-making process isn't really a comforting thing for Palestinians who've just endured 2 years of genocide, end quote. Though it says Herzela is relieved the bombs are not dropping as frequently and family can return to their homes even if damaged. You can read more on sahanjournal.com. 12,000 acres of forest and wetlands in northeast Minnesota now public after land purchases on Minnesota Public Radio NPR News on October 14th. The article from Dan Cracker in Duluth says, quote, the Nature Conservancy purchased more than 12,000 acres of forest, rivers, and wetlands between two harbors in Ely in northeast Minnesota that the conservation organization plans to restore and make accessible to the public, end quote. The article quotes Ann Mulholland, director of the Nature Conservancy in Minnesota, North Dakota, and South Dakota, as saying, quote, we will restore and manage this forest to maximize its health, wildlife habitat, demonstrate climate-smart forestry practices, and will use forest restoration techniques to reduce fire risk, which is really important across the entire property to make it more resilient to climate change, end quote. This conserved land will become part of the Sand Lake Seven Beavers Preserve area, making it nearly 3 times larger. A statement, Socialist Party statement on Trump troop deployments, passed by the SPUSA National Executive Committee October 2nd, 2025, reads in part, quote, the president has justified his actions by claiming that the United States is, quote, under invasion from within by leftist political activists. The Socialist Party knows that this demonization of Americans who politically disagree with the president is extremely dangerous. The Socialist Party knows this intimately, as it was decimated by the now infamous Palmer raids, in which thousands of activists, including socialist organizers, were illegally arrested, jailed, and deported with, at best, a mockery of due process, end quote. And, quote, the party opposes in the strongest terms the deployment of the U.S. military in a civil law enforcement role to any American cities. Any suggestion that American cities will be used as training grounds for the military is a dangerous escalation of an already cleared trend toward authoritarian means to enact policy priorities. This administration has used bullying and intimidation tactics in an effort to silence its critics and any it sees as an enemy, all to appease Donald Trump's malice, vindictiveness, end quote. You can read the full statement at socialistpartyusa.net. Chicagoans mobilized to demand an end to the federal occupation. That is on Fight Back News, October 9th, by Gio Arroyo, which reads, quote, the thousands of people coming out on Wednesday evening shows that the momentum of the resistance against Trump's occupation is not slowing down. Chicago is in the center of this country's fight back against Trump's reactionary agenda alongside LA and DC, end quote. It encourages people to join the resistance and promotes the coalition against the Trump agenda. You can read more at fightbacknews.org. An interview with U.S. writer Sarah Paretsky appears on Socialist Workers UK on October 12th under the title, a quote from Paretsky, we have to be in the streets and we have to protect the people. The interview is conducted by Judy Cox. In the interview, Paretsky says, quote, we hear Black Hawk helicopters circling overhead. It is not Syria. They are not dropping bombs. It is all about intimidation. The administration has banned the use of civilian drones because they were being used to track ICE activity, end quote. Paretsky goes on to say that they are doing this now likely to interfere in next year's elections. You can read more on socialistworker.co. Growing number of U.S. veterans face arrest over ICE raid protests. That, a title on The Guardian, October 13th by Aaron Glantz, which says veterans are facing federal charges over standing up to ICE during Trump's nationwide sweeps. Some veterans have been on the front lines, but, quote, we have veterans who are staying away and not getting health care or coming in carrying their passports, end quote. That, a quote in the article from Aaron Hughes, an Iraq War veteran and former Illinois National Guardsman who is a member of About Face Veterans Against the War. The article goes on, quote, Nicholas Pajacek, a 34-year-old U.S. Air Force veteran born in Honduras, told The Guardian he canceled a primary care appointment at the Hines VA, which had been scheduled for Thursday, end quote. Even though the veterans are citizens, they are worried about getting detained, according to Pajacek, quote, because we are brown, end quote. Internationalist Standpoint, October 14th, has an article titled Chicago ICE Raids Meet Mass Resistance by Steve Edwards, who says Trump is using the same shock and awe principle that George W. Bush used during the invasion of Iraq on Chicago. Edwards says, quote, the human cost has been horrifying. Mothers and fathers torn from their families, children, in some cases, literally left on the sidewalk as their parents have been seized by masked government agents on reasonable suspicion that they weren't born in the U.S. of A, end quote. It highlights the Illegal Immigration Reform and Immigrant Responsibility Act of 1996, which Edwards writes, quote, made millions of non-citizens liable for removal regardless of their legal status, including expanding the range of offenses that could lead to deportation, end quote. It also highlights how there is no legal path to citizenship for the vast majority of people. Edwards discusses daily protests, people literally chasing ICE, and changes in consciousness taking place currently in Chicago. Read more at internationaliststandpoint.org. A joint statement from Palestinian resistance factions is posted on workers.org. Hamas, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, and the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine issued a joint statement on October 10th, 2025, posted by Resistance News Networks. It reads in part, quote, in light of the announcement of the first phase of the agreement to stop and end the war of genocide and the marathon negotiations that the factions undertook to reach this national achievement, the three powers extend a salute of honor and reverence to the masses of our great people, especially our people in the Gaza Strip, who faced the most heinous Zionist crimes with legendary steadfastness and resolve, end quote. And we affirm our unwavering adherence to our people's right to their land, homeland, holy sites, and dignity, and our insistence on continuing the resistance in all its forms until our rights are achieved. Foremost among them, the removal of the occupation, self-determination, and the establishment of a fully sovereign and independent state with Al-Quds as its capital, end quote. Italy's second general strike for Gaza brought 2 million workers into the streets, is on truthout.org, October 11th. Check it out. President of Madagascar flees to safe location amid deadly protests. That on aljazeera.com, October 13th. Look it up. Morocco, the Gen Z 212 uprising. That also October 13th on CrimeThink, which reads, quote, beginning with the toppling of the president of Sri Lanka in 2022 and the 2024 uprising in Bangladesh, a new revolutionary ferment has begun to spread around the world, gaining momentum with the uprising in Indonesia in August 2025 and the insurrection in Nepal in September. Since then, fierce protests have broken out in Peru, the Philippines, Madagascar, Morocco, and elsewhere, end quote. It takes the form of an interview with two Moroccan activists. Check it out on CRIMETHINC.com.